You've decided you want to start a garden in 2026. This is one of the most important steps that you need to think about. If you're new here, I'm the Heartland Gardener. I've been gardening for about 15 years. I'm now in Zone 7A, and I'm going to talk today about assessing your space. Now, when we talk about assessing your space, this is the space that you have available. If you live in an apartment or you have a very limited yard, we're going to have to work with. Those are the garden helpers in the background barking at nothing. Now that that's out of the way, what I was saying is if you have a limited space, we're going to have to work with what you have. But if you're starting a brand new plot and you have several areas to choose from, that's what this video is going to go over. How do I choose the best, most ideal spot to have the most successful garden? When you're thinking about assessing your space, you're thinking about what does your plant want? I talk a lot about what is your why? What is your garden why? Why are you starting this garden? Are you growing food, flowers, fruit trees? What is the goal here? And then you need to go, okay, this is what I want to grow. What does that plant need? All right, thank you. I'm going to need you to back up just a little bit. Yes, I appreciate your help though. You're a new gardener, so you probably don't know what you need to be looking for. So that's what this video is going to do. We're going to go on a little tour of my garden, but first let's talk about you. What is it that you need to be looking for when you go out in your yard to find the best space for your new garden? So number one, we got to figure out what you're growing, right? If you don't know what you're growing, you don't know what kind of space you need. If you are trying to start a kitchen garden, vegetable garden, fruit, herbs, those kinds of things, you pretty much are going to need a sunny place. It's not that those plants won't survive, but you're looking for them to thrive. So make sure you know what your plants need and match that to the space that you have. Also, you need to look at the terrain. Is it really sloped? When it rains, does water pool in that area? Do you have a spot that's great with sun, but you have a ton of bushes around there and you're going to have to dig out all of those roots? Think about the structure. Those are things you can fix with raised beds and dirt, but choose the easiest spot for you. Again, if you're a beginner, this stuff can seem really overwhelming, so try to pick the most ideal spot that you have to work with. Think about what that space looks like all season long. I have a couple of beds here. We moved in October. I put those beds there thinking they were full sun, and then all of the trees bloomed, and now that is pretty much full shade. So just know what that spot looks like winter and in the middle of summer, because that's really going to dictate what you can put in there all year round. Also, something a lot of people don't really think about is your storm patterns, your weather seasons. I live in a place now we don't get crazy storms, but I used to live in Texas. We got crazy storms, thunderstorms, tornadoes, big windstorms. We lived in a place that got the haboobs. So that was something I had to think about there. So think about that when you set up your garden. Is there a place that has a little bit more shelter when you put up a trellis system, or do you get really brutal winters that the weight of that snow might break something that you have? Think about the structure of your garden all year long, and that will give you some long-term success. Can you get water to those spaces? Okay, this is super important. You don't really think about this now when it's January and everything is dead, but when it's the middle of July and you have to drag a hose and you can't get that hose to your plants, you're going to get really irritated about it. So think about your structure and is it easy for me to hook up a hose? Can I get water to these spaces that I'm building? I have a yard way, way down there, but I can't get water to it. So that's why there's no plants in there yet. Now, there's 100 things we could talk about the most ideal place, but for a beginner, I think the things that you really need to think about are how much sun does this space get and does it match my plants? Can I get water to it? Is this place well protected? Is there going to be pooling, a rush of water through my garden that's going to wipe everything out when I get a storm? Is this going to be something that can last for a long time? We're going to talk about building out your spaces and the materials that you're going to use, but you got to figure out the right spot or else you're going to have a disaster area on your hands and it's going to kind of put you off from continuing to garden, and that's not what we want. So if you want to stick around and you're interested to see what I already have, when I moved into this house, there was absolutely nothing. I've made every space that there is, and then I'm going to show you the space that we are going to work on together this summer so I can teach you how to build out a space that starts with just dirt and grass to a very prolific, productive garden. So this space was the first place that I started a garden in. When we first moved into this house, this was already established as more of a butterfly garden. It didn't have any raised beds. It did not have my cattle panels in it. And so I made it into a space that I could use my first season when I was here. It gets lots of good sun. It gets some shade over here. So I have my pots and all of my beds set up so that I can plant different varieties and plant in different times of the season. Now, when we first moved in here, our plan was not to stay, but we have stayed much longer than I had anticipated. So the next year, I went ahead and made my tomato beds. These are 8-foot T-posts, get lots and lots of full sun, a good flat ground, basically good for anything that needs at least 6 to 8 hours of sun. So it gives me a lot of options, and that's why I chose this space right here. This was just dirt and grass, part of the regular yard, and now it is a thriving space in the spring and the summer and the fall. Now, my someday dream scenario when I become famous on social media or we win the lottery is to have my own farm. I don't have that right now. I live in the middle of other houses. I have a really nice sized backyard, and so I'm going to utilize it. So I also added in these 3 6-foot beds this year and 2 more on the other side because I want to learn to grow as much as I can and learn how to use that space efficiently. I also chose this space right here because it gets full sun. It's a good flat ground, so it's a really good place for a multitude of things to grow. This space behind me right here is what is going to be our new garden. I have been out here measuring and deciding what I thought would be the best possible use of this space, and I'm pretty sure I figured it out. Why did I choose this space? Well, one, it's available to me. I already have my garden here. I know my hose will reach to here, and it gets full sun. So that meets my main requirements. It has sun, I can get my hose to it, and it's easily accessible to me, so it's not a pain in the butt for me to walk out from the garden that I have right here and just walk out into here. Even though I know how to garden, I have my own personal goals that I'm trying to reach, so I made sure that this space is going to help me to reach those goals. I want space for specific things. I've really gotten into flower gardening, so I want to have space to do that. I like to utilize vertical gardening for everything that can grow up. You should really consider that because it gives you so much more flat space for the things that don't go that way. And I also want to have better pest control, and growing vertically is really helpful. So when I thought about this new space, I really took into consideration what's important to me. So what is important to you? What do you want to grow? And what is important for you to learn every single year? This is something that once you get addicted to gardening, you're never going to get enough of it. You're going to want to learn more every single year. And that's what's so great about it. So when I picked out this space, I thought about all of those things. And that's what I want you to start getting on that path of. What is important to me? What's important to my plants? And how do I make that into the perfect space for me and my personal garden? I know this is long and wordy. I'm sorry. I am not a videographer. I'm not a content creator. I'm just a girl that lives in Tennessee that's trying to teach you how to garden. If you have real questions about something, just leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them. But hopefully this is helpful to you. Save it so you can refer back to it and follow along, and we will get started getting you your own personal space ready and beautiful this spring and summer.